Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of The Positive Impact. Today we have a Colombian, a Colombite, we might call him, who's residing in another place now. Dejan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kavi. Hey,
Hello.
thanks for having me.
So this Dejan is the cool kid from Colombo back in the day that we knew. But now he resides in Belipola Arboretum. So we might have to ask him what all these terms are. So Dejan, please tell us what made this change and what is earth restoration and what is this new residence of yours, the Belipola Arboretum. I think it's very exciting. So please give us a brief on that.
Hey, Kavi, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having me on the program Positive Impact. So actually, the changes all brought about positive impact. So I won't go about what brought about the change because we are all going through that. And I believe that that's the impact of the dissociation from nature that all of us are experiencing in this current time. So the positive impact has been that realization and the fact that I made a move into the rural landscapes of Sri Lanka about 6 years ago with the intention of farming. And while I was on that adventure, coming from the city, it's not a very easy thing to comprehend. But there was that capacity to realize that, and when I was on that path, I came across Dr. Ranil Senanayake. Dr. Ranil Senanayake is a profound ecologist of our times. He's probably one of the most senior systems ecologists in the world. And so, on my journey of learning how to farm, I came across Dr. Ranil's work in my early farming career, luckily. And so that's what has brought me to Belipola Arboretum. Belipola Arboretum is a restoration landscape, as you can see. It used to be an old tea estate managed through the colonial experiment. It was bought over by Dr. Ranil as a private landowner, also in his experience of leaving the city and coming into the rurals. So he bought this tea estate. He was a planter, of course, but he bought it as to demonstrate as a response to the pinus and eucalyptus monocultures that were going on in Sri Lanka at that time that he was very against. So he bought this land and restored it into this very biodiverse and full of forest ecology in its design considerations. So
and
that's
what's analog forestry? What is it? It's something different to
yeah. So analog forestry is a formal science of silviculture. Silviculture is forestry or tree planting. So forestry in the early histories was like managed as plantation forests. So it was mostly for planted for timber value. But analog forestry, Dr. Ranil Senanayake is the founder of this whole process. He articulated it while he was at Monash University in Australia, and the main consideration for this kind of forestry is biodiversity, and the biodiversity of trees account for 1% of the biodiversity of a forest. So you can imagine how we are looking at a forest, and that's what we do here using analog forestry processes.
I came across some terms like primary ecosystems and what earth restoration, the organization that you represent, they talk about contracted primary ecosystems. Can you give us an idea about this, because this is all new to us?
Yeah, sure. I think let me correct you if I may, but
yes,
it
please.
might be this what you meant. You said primary ecosystems, and primary ecosystems are generally composite of the natural forest species found in that given region. It's very rare. Nowadays we rarely see these forest patches. Not even the protected wildlife reserves. Only the deepest depths of those you'll find the real primary forest or primary ecosystem. But what we are trying to demonstrate through this restoration landscape is a particular yield that hasn't been recognized yet. Yes, we can call it biodiversity, or we can call it like uh, crops from the farm or fruits from the forest or whatever that is. But there is another yield, and that yield is called or recognized or identified as primary ecosystem services.
Right.
So PES.
Yes.
Primary ecosystem services are the generate and the yield of this forest. What are primary ecosystem services? Was the original question. They are the production of oxygen,
Right.
they are the capture of carbon, and they are the clean water function of tree roots.
Right.
And these primary ecosystem services, these three services, there might be a few others, but they're very, no, actually there aren't. There are only these three processes.
Okay.
Primary ecosystem services, which are the products of photosynthesis.
Okay. So now here you all are giving a value to these three products of these what is it, primary ecosystem, and you're contracting, is it? That's why it's called contracted primary eco
That's
system
right. So
services.
we talked about a yield that we are recognizing. So Dr. Ranil, when he first established this forest, this analog forest, he was looking at biodiversity as the main consideration for this design. So he was looking at the frogs, he was looking at the lizards, he was looking at their habitats, he was looking at the water, peripheral things, and things that he was very close and cognizant of. Um, and then eventually there had to be some kind of value that could sustain this kind of activity in his experience. So, and he had to model it so that it could be a response to the timber plantations that were coming around. You can't just expect people to go forests and not get paid for it or not have an income. That's not going to work. So analog forestry went into forest garden products, and there is a particular certification, a world body that certifies forest garden products that are products coming out of the forest.
Okay.
So just like organic products,
Okay.
this is, let's say, a step beyond organic.
Right. Okay.
Right? Then we come to primary ecosystem services, which is a step beyond organic. Okay, and this is the kind of yield that we are looking to support farmers in the face of climate change, because the best the best solution for climate change is trees. As we know, trees and plants have created this atmosphere over a long process of time. So in this era of climate change, I think there it requires a shift to value trees coming back onto the farmlands. Trees develop deep roots, and the roots develop the soil basin. It's the tree roots that develop the soil basin. So if you have more trees on farms, you'll have more connectivity underground and more fertile soils.
Okay.
Now the problem is that trees generally aren't valued on farms, because the shade, and because farms are used for extractive kind of farming since the Green Revolution, since the 1960s and 70s. What do we do now? How do we change the landscapes because that have actually destroyed a lot of biodiversity, as well as compromised a lot of human well-being and health, even more than wars, I would say. This food culture over the last
Yes.
40 years, there is a lot of research on it. I think Dr. Vandana Shiva as well as Dr. Ranil have given a lot of talks based on this green revolution, and how it has impacted humanity. So we can talk about that later.
Yeah,
But
it'll be another topic itself, I guess.
yeah, exactly. Coming into that. uh, but so recognizing this yield beyond organic is what we call contracted primary ecosystem services.
Right.
It's basically a contract to grow trees on farms so that farmers get paid over a certain duration of time, not for carbon capture, not for just cheap things, but substantial payments for tree care in return for this yield that we recognize. And we
How do you value it? Because now we know if someone grows a tree and gets
yeah,
fruits out of it, when it bears fruit, you sell the
yeah,
fruit and get it. So that's the value that normal person can get from a tree. But here you all have a different model to value these primary ecosystem services. Please let us know. Please give us an explanation of how you all do that. It would be
wonderful
interesting.
setup, a wonderful window to look into, Kavishan. So we believe in my teaching, my first teaching from Dr. Ranil is look around you, look around you.
It's
What do you
amazing.
see? What do you see? So I see these. I see the trees. I see. I'm a novice, and I'm seeing the shade. I'm seeing. The soil. I'm seeing all of these things, but I'm not getting to it. And then the doctor looks at me and says, "The most valuable thing on this planet is the photosynthetic component of biomass. These leaves on trees. These leaves, it's not the trees, it's the trees are the structure for these leaves to have evolved on. So the leaves are looking to capture sunlight, right? And these are the most important things on the planet, he has told me,
The
right?
leaves.
So yeah, the leaves on trees. So you know, so then I was like joking. So doc, it's like, so the money is really the leaves on trees, right? And that's exactly right, boy, is what he'd say. That's exactly right, and that's what biocurrency is. So we can hypothesize about this, but how do we really evaluate it? So okay, we know that all of these trees and all of these leaves are producing primary ecosystem services everywhere in the world. All these leaves, wherever they are, even though they're coming down, like the forest biomass and leaf biomass is coming down, they're everywhere and they're still producing oxygen. They're still capturing carbon. Now, all of that is happening is all a part of the global commons. It's yours, it's mine, it's America, it's Russia, it's the global. We are breathing from it. We are like burning fossil fuel with it. We're
It
using it
oxygen
as if
everything.
it's everyone's.
That's true.
It's the global commons. So all of this, then how can we claim this, like this on my land is producing this much oxygen? It's then becomes just a arbitrary claim, because hey, it's all producing. So we thought about this, and we thought about then, okay, but if there was an apple tree and the apple tree was in the farm, or a jack tree, that jack tree, the fruit of that jack tree is mine. So
Yeah.
that tree is mine, you know, and the oxygen that is being created by the tree that is on my land, yes, that is, I am gifting that, I can say that. Or this is because I planted this tree, I can say. So we have to realize this value for tree farming. Okay, so we started with, okay, let's do it with a contract. Okay, so the contract goes on for 4 years, and a farmer grows a new tree, and the tree grows, and the jack tree is growing. As the tree grows, the leaves, it doubles up, or it starts with one or two leaves and it then doubles up, and the second year it's more and more. So the leaves at the first year with the farmer, we shake hands, contract year one. And we go measure the leaves on this tree. We use phone app to measure the dimensions of the leaf, and we create a volume for it. On that, and based on a few scientific calculations, we can come up with this much chlorophyll in this leaf has produced this much of an output of oxygen and clean water.
Sure that.
So that's the basic premise. So just before like the fruit, or we just go check the condition of the tree and the leaves, and measure it and do the scientific process, and then that's year one.
Yeah.
Then we verify it, and then year two, year three, and year four.
Year four. And what's the total payout we are talking about for a farm?
The total time is 4 years, and the total payout is 80% of $80.
Great. Okay. That's
which
for
is
farm.
worth which is $64.
This is per tree, is it? Per tree that
Per
we are
tree.
talking about.
We
You
if
multiply.
we are scaling this pilot model, and it's observable at the landscape and around the home gardens at the analog forest. The time for the contractual tenor is 4 years, and the payout is staggered over an incremental payout. So 5% in the first year, 10% in the second year, 25% in the third year, and 50% in the fourth year, depending on the condition of the tree. If the tree is in poor condition, you'll get only a partial payment.
Yeah.
If the tree is dead, you'll only get an insurance payment, and you get like 2 tries. So it's like this project, we're moving along, with the farmers, and they're getting also trained to understand the value of this tree farming and how we are seeing the value of it and what they're getting paid for. So they're getting informed of a new kind of farming. And I believe, as a farmer who's farming in the secondary market right now, supporting agricultural landscapes and research and education, I believe that this is the way. If we don't evaluate beyond organic, if we don't evaluate beyond this extractive farming and farming for profit kind of modeling, uh, we are not going to benefit the biosphere. We are not going to benefit the biodiversity, and actually, we're going to compromise the atmosphere way faster. So, we need to value much more of this green matter, and that's what this project is about.
It's a very novel concept.
Yeah, it is. It's a new kind of farming contract coming out. I don't think anywhere in the world. They're working with primary ecosystem services modeling. They're working with carbon capture.
Exactly.
But let me maybe you will ask me what's the difference.
Exactly. That's what I want to ask, because there are so many carbon credit programs and everything. And how is you all different?
Don't these trees capture carbon? And what about a tree that's growing its capture? Yes. So in our process, we do calculate carbon, but we calculate the carbon of the tree that's growing. So the leaf has grown, and there is, like, let's say 20 grams of carbon that's being captured. Okay, the dynamic carbon capture is 20 grams. We can't do tons with new trees. Like, we can do tons if we have, but it's not realistic to imagine that we can offset fossil fuel consumption. And carbon capture is about a consumer-based model, and this is more about a production-based model.
Right.
We are producing primary ecosystem services, and
we discussed about what the tree farmer gets as well. So he gets the payout throughout those 4 years. Shall we talk about the investors as well? Who's your ideal investor, and who are you pitching this to?
Sure, man. Sure. Well, the ideal investor is people who are looking for a profit in terms of the the health of the biosphere, and quantifying their returns in terms of how productive they have been towards restoring the ecosystem or the biosphere. So everyone's objective is the yield, So uh, the the ideal investor here, we're seeing, is going to support the rural farming capital to be productive in the future, considering climate change. So we need to evolve our farming landscapes. So anyone looking to invest in agriculture is our ideal investor.
So may it be a
And
corporate or may it be an individual, is it?
it may be a corporate, it may be a conglomerate, or it may be an individual. And we look to work with all three, although our pilot models are working with individual homeowners, home gardeners, and
Right.
individual farmers, small scale, looking to include more trees on the farm. Um, so that's one level of investment, and the next level is where we're trying to create digital backed wealth economy, and what the digital certificate or what the value is backed by is the contracts of primary ecosystem services. So we're looking at this pilot is looking at developing an NFT
Right. Okay.
based on the 4 years of recorded tree productivity with the farmer under this contract. So the investor will see through this smart contract very transparently every year what has happened, where the tree is. There'll be a map. There'll be like this landowner details. There'll be the payout. There'll be the verified quantity of oxygen, and there will be a return based on our algorithms, life force algorithms that we've been working at the research center with, trying to like trying to evaluate really what the value of oxygen is. Okay,
Okay.
uh, a new tree, let's say a mango tree, producing, being generated for 4 years, produces about 600 liters of oxygen. Okay, 600 molar liters of oxygen. That's 1 day of breathing for you and me, mate. Okay, 4 years of a mango tree growing produces 1 day of breathing for you and me. Okay, so what is it worth? Okay, so we were like, is there a market for oxygen? Like, what's going on? How can we say, okay, this oxygen is worth this much? Because people will like blame us for commodifying oxygen. Yeah. But that's not what it's about. Take a look at this. What the investor gets is this verified NFT with all these values.
Mhm.
And let's say it's a mango tree, it has 600 liters of oxygen. On the market today, a liter of oxygen, molar liter, sells for approximately 9 kilograms,
Right.
$9,
Okay.
$9, $9 molar liter of oxygen. So that's about our, you know, mm, so then it comes down to about $300 worth of oxygen production that
Right.
that tree has given out. Bottom line is it boils down to about 300. So we then looked into the health system. So oxygen traded on the industrial system, like mining, like taking oxygen from the atmosphere and putting it into cylinders for, let's say, combustion or welding works.
Yeah.
That's what's so $9. Uh, if you take the medical um, pricing for oxygen around the world, the mean rate comes to about $60. In
Right.
USA, it can be anywhere from $300 to $1,000 for a kilogram, a molar kilogram, and anywhere else in China, let's say, on the medical system, or canisters. So we've taken all of this range of pricing of oxygen, and we've
And
created a mean,
so, okay.
and we've created an algorithm that creates a mean for that year. The year 2022, oxygen was traded in the world at this
So,
mean.
oh, that's
And
it's very transparent as well. Then
it's
if
very
it
transparent,
fluctuates,
and
we're
we are not setting the price.
right.
The price is already existent on the market.
Okay.
We are just bringing all of it together and showing people that, hey, the tree is now producing primary ecosystem services, and it's oxygen, carbon, and water. This much carbon is worth this much on the carbon market. This much oxygen is worth this much on the oxygen market. And so we amalgamate those values for the investor and present it in the format of an NFT.
Okay.
And that's what the project is about.
That's great, because what I was in the market, what they say is, okay, there was reforestation done for this number of acres, so this number of trees, if so. But here you all give that value, that what they expect as well, because there's a result end of the day. Okay, you all have generated this much of oxygen through this this number of trees. So that's ideal for a corporate as well, if they are to quantify their work.
That's exactly right. To quantify it in a manner that is scalable to show like the positive externalities effect of the trees and plants. So it's a scientific process that evaluates the plant. So it can be used anywhere in the world. So it's replicable in that scale of science, and we hope that the carbon model will evolve and also see how they can upmarket and bridge new value to those schemes as well for new trees planted on the ground. So yeah, the return is in biocurrency, and biocurrency based on contracted primary ecosystem services in the form of an NFT. The NFT is just people ask me about the energy of an NFT, and doesn't like that cause more environmental damage. I don't believe that the technologies have been used to encompass or to lock in this kind of value system. Let's take a 4-minute music track. Yes, it consumes a lot of energy. Our NFT would consume the same amount of energy, but it has the productivity of a tree that it's backed by, is how we are looking at it. So these are things that we are going to evolve and test the market with. So we are bringing this NFT out, and then the investor, the owner, can market this and can buy and sell based on NFT for C-PES, or Contracted Primary Ecosystem Services. We're trying to build a world platform that has an amalgamate values of regional contracted primary ecosystem services, and we're trying to build up the network through this scheme.
Very interesting, Dan. So I envy you looking at your background from where you're connecting from today. This is where it all started, the Belipola Arboretum, I believe. So please give us the details. How can a person contact you all, get in touch with you all, or even come stay with you all to experience the world?
All of that is possible, Kavi. We are on the internet, belipolaarboretum.earth. I'll send you all the links and my phone number. You can include it on this publish. If it's university related research, or if it's just to experience the forest and what we do here, or if it's related to how you would like to evolve and design your own landscape, bring your maps and plans and landscape plans and surveys and whatnot, and come here, spend a couple of days, and let's figure a few things out. It's no big deal. It's just a commitment that it takes. And okay, it's no big deal. Let me put it this way. It's a total shift of paradigm, okay? But it's the same well-being and the benefits that we expect or that we yearn for. So it's this way or that way, and we welcome you to experience and make that choice. And we welcome all of you, because Belipola is a very inclusive space, and it's been growing like this for 30 years. It's a very historic space also, and the history of it is a very meaningful thing to talk about when we are in person.
Great. I saw that there's accommodation there, and there are yoga sessions there and trails. I think that has a very touristic kind of aesthetic as well.
We call it like an international flavoring on the forest. of Sri Lanka. But actually now we want to go supranational. You know, we want the forest to become our representative, and that's the invitation. All of
Great.
y'all, we invite to participate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it may be a knowledge sharing or a knowledge gathering, or to spend some quality time with the good people at Earth Restoration.
Yeah.
And this amazing place, Belipola
Dr.
Arboretum.
Ranil, you can consult with,
Exactly.
you consult with Dr. Ranil as well. That's what this
Great. So
arboretum is for. It's a
great.
resource.
So that'll be great. Okay, thanks a lot for joining with us, Dejan. We wish Dr. Ranil, you and the team all the very best to take this to greater heights. We'll catch up again because there were some other topics that intrigued me as well. So we'll probably meet again to discuss on those topics. Great.
Anytime,
Okay,
Kavi. Thanks a lot, and good luck on your endeavors. All the best. Ayubowan.
Ayubowan.